Okay, winding down at G10, otherwise known as Gathering 10, 2018. However, we don't need to reference the year because G10 is 2018. So we're panning back, and I'm talking to a guy that I bumped into from time to time over the years. Actually, not quite so recently, but Dwayne Dwyer. Salute, brother.
Cheers.
And we're going to get this one in here too. We're doing just a little bit of Blanton's that Stuart, in his wisdom and whatever, decided to bring. So what do you guys think of the Blanton's?
Excellent, excellent.
Beautiful stuff, eh?
Oh, gorgeous.
Okay, cool.
I reckon it's from my part of the country, so Bruce, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm in the company of era.
It's the best part of the country.
It is.
Salute.
Cheers. Salute.
Okay.
Lane, Blanton's, I'll go with any of the great part of the country.
Exactly.
So now, I think it was a few years ago that we did a short by Dwayne standards, thank you, sir, interview about different materials, different metals, origins of metals, etc. And I mean, it was really dynamic and, quite frankly, way over my head because I am no teacher, professor, or what have you. But you've got a vast knowledge of metallurgy that was quite impressive. So we covered that. I think we were doing shots of tequila at the time, so things kind of went a little sideways. More to the point, now we have bounced around the concept of doing an interview here or there, maybe at the shop, over the last couple of years with your guy who manages, or used to manage. Never came through. I was never in the area at the right time. But so let's back up, actually start here now. Where are you currently, Dwayne?
My shop.
Okay, I was waiting for you to say, well, Las Vegas, goddammit, what's the matter with you? But the shop is, what is the current location of your
Where are they
shop?
from? Space, dumbass.
Yeah.
So my shop's in San Marcos, and the Strider Knife Shop, which, we got our first business license in 1991. I had the luxury of hooking up with a great dude in an Aikido school, and we formed something that two uneducated weirdos that were grunts, knuckle draggers, wanted to increase the margin of success of a warfighter. That was my goal with Mick. I was a material studies guy. I like chemistry. I like metallurgy. So, that is the truth. And Mick, it was good with mechanisms. So end of the day, it was a good fit. So we ran it for 26 straight years, really.
Let's back up a little bit. So you're in San Marcos. You're still in the area where you were when we first talked a long time ago.
Yeah, sure enough. Yeah.
So started there. What was that era that you actually started? You guys were making knives before you got licensed and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. That was Escondido, then Carlsbad, then Oceanside, and then San Marcos. And all of those are a 15-mile radius.
Yeah.
It's all just a small area. We bounced around a little bit because it was convenient for us and economical. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, Mick and I, we shut down the corporate side of business because nothing negative, but the reality is employees playing the game of production. Benchmade does a tremendous job. A great job for the United States government. Les Diastis, he's a...
Well, and more to the point, every business goes through its metamorphosis, through its evolution, if you will. Everything does. Every relationship does. We've all worked with different people. And, there's guys that we have worked with professionally, and those relationships go through metamorphosis.
Right.
They go through evolutions. We as individuals go through evolutions. So it goes without saying that Strider Knives Incorporated, if I'm using the right, I think
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
So that went through its metamorphosis. When were you guys first making knives? Was that pre-92, 93 when
88.
88, okay. So you're making knives basically in a small shop, maybe even your garage.
Yeah, it was a garage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then you bounced around a little bit.
91, we got a business license.
91 got the business license. Was that working as SKI at that time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's the name on our original business license.
Okay, so that's the original name too. So in early 90s, a little thing called Soldier of Fortune Conference. When you were there, I have vague recollections, but I was looking for a variety of equipment. Stumbled into knives, stumbled in custom knives, met a number of people, you included, that some of them have kind of gone by the wayside, but some of them have skyrocketed to very large companies or very, let's put it succinctly, very successful companies.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And you know, rock, the typical term that's used by a lot of the you know, well, there's names used for them, but the guys that get really super enthused.
I think you're going too long.
Say again?
I think you're going too long right now.
I am, yeah. So, so I want you to, now you cut in. So basically, I mean, you were on a card table at the time. Small table.
Yeah.
How can nuts. So then jump to when you incorporated and things start taking off there.
One thing I'd really like to say is good things come to people who work hard, right? So Bruce remembers this. I did 42 gun shows in 1 year out of the back of a white Toyota truck. This guy knows this. I would drive to the show.
42 in 1 year.
42 gun shows. Took 10 weekends off.
And geographical area?
Everywhere west of the Mississippi.
Wow.
Tulsa, Wanamaker show. You know, everything in Phoenix. I did Washington State, Oregon, California. I did everything west of the Mississippi. And it was really a great experience because at that time it was easy to travel, it was inexpensive, fuel was cheap, and you know, I didn't have the money to buy a great American truck, so I was driving this little Toyota. It was fun. You know, as I stepped it up a little bit, it was funner to buy a bigger truck. And I could carry more stuff and sleep more comfortably.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, we did. We traveled a lot, and I think what you learn by that is where to go and where not to go.
Exactly.
Like anything else. So with Soldier of Fortune, what I love about that question is, it's a show we miss. You know, Soldier of Fortune was exactly that. And when that show was started, the Colonel was a great man. And honestly, I think there's nothing that's filled that gap. I believe that the show that we're sitting at right now, The Gathering, number 10,
it's very close.
I believe for knives, it is the best thing by comparison.
For knives, it's probably the closest thing that I've encountered, and I've gone to Blade West when it was still functioning.
Right,
and then it folded. I've been to other shows, you know, Southern California, a few others in different parts of the country. But this show, The Gathering, unfortunately, this is my first one. I had a few interruptions of travel to attend in the past, but this is probably the best fill-in. And you just said it yourself. So it seems to be a general consensus. Am I right?
Yes.
You feel the same way? Okay, very good.
True.
So, and it's a good fill-in for SOF.
Sure.
It would be a blessing if we could bring it back.
You know, if you're a trophy hunter and you want the 900-pound plus brown bear, well, you go to Kodiak Island. But there's no feeling of family there. But yet, if you're a guy that grows up in Tennessee, you get in the woods and you kill the black bear. And the exhilaration of success is the same. One is not greater than the other. It's success that feels good. So this show, I believe, gives us the success feeling, if you have it, and it also gives us this feeling of family.
And that's really, not only as an exhibitor and a maker, but also as the attendees. When I've talked to the attendees here, and it's an adjustment of scale, or there's a term that's used in business about scale, but it's basically an adjustment of scale. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing in the world. Sometimes the biggest is the worst.
Agreed.
Sometimes you contaminate. If you dilute something too much, then it loses its actual origin.
Walmart's no fun. We've all seen those videos. And I mean, we shop there, whatever. So, point being, you know, Larry and Jerry have done an amazing job here. Blade Magazine, Steve Shackelford, the guy's my idol. That's a great show, but he's the 900-pound Kodiak Bear. It's amazing. It's a phenomenal event. The West Coast show that you mentioned, phenomenal event. We're bringing it back now. Yeah. But this show is still a separate entity.
And growing.
And it feels different.
And it hopefully we won't reach that tipping point where it becomes diluted or you know, poisoned in some way.
And we're 10 years in, you know. We haven't blown it yet.
Yeah.
So you know, give us 2 more years. So,
well, 2 more years, it won't be GX, it'll be GXXX. Well, there you go.
Well, there's a winner. I don't know what you mean.
So let's back up a little bit with SK, Strider Knives Incorporated.
Sure.
So early 90s, 91, you incorporate, you're still traveling. At what point did you reach the, you know, when we talked a few moons ago, I mean, you were the guy at the table with nobody there saying, hey, look at my knives. We talked at length at a point And of course, I was achieving my initial immersion, you might say, with custom knives or custom-like knives. We talked about a variety of aspects of things that you and Mick were doing at the time. Very interested. Obviously, I picked up a few pieces over the years. But at what point were you not that guy at a card table at a knife show? At what point, you're traveling 47 shows a year, right?
42.
42. Well,
42
okay.
shows a year.
I gave you 5. So
I won't make a mistake. I'm not lying.
no,
to you.
I
did
appreciate
42
it.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 42 shows a year.
Yeah.
At what point were you not out? Where you weren't hunting? Where you were more? You weren't
Could actually
stalking.
get a hotel room the first night.
Exactly. Yeah, and able to just instead of out hunting and stalking, you're more setting up in the blind, waiting for the clients and the customers to come.
That's a good one. I think about 4 years in, we were pretty comfortable with our clientele for fixed blades. Strider knives didn't do folders until one magnificent thing happened for us. We had a customer motivate us. We did some stuff with Buck Knives who were great for us. The Buck family, I mean, how can you not love these guys? Kershaw, we've worked with, phenomenal guys, okay?
And I have some of the pieces of both Buck and Kershaw.
I'm so proud of both of those collaborations we worked with. But, we truly, Mick and I had the luxury of being in the company of heroes. So we surrounded ourselves with subject matter expertise. I heard a quote one day said, subject matter expertise is exactly that. It was Pat Rogers that said that. So, raise a glass.
Yeah.
That's Pat.
Pat.
Yeah.
Salute.
Salute.
Right?
God bless you.
So we tried to define what it was that we were going after, because it doesn't matter if somebody else is going after something different. What I wanted to go after was empirical data. I wanted to show people, look, comparative data is exactly that. If I put 4 apples on a table and remove one, doesn't matter what language you speak, there's 3 apples on the table. Doesn't fucking matter. Am I allowed to curse? Okay.
I don't give a rat's ass.
So anyway, point being, there's only 3 hard science issues in knife making. A lot of people in this building might be upset that I'm saying this, but that's it. Ergonomics is not a hard science. Aesthetics is most certainly not a hard science. Hard science is this: raw material study. Okay, what is your raw material? If I make a knife out of a piece of broken glass, that makes me a convict. If I make it, which I'm not dissing them, it makes a great knife.
Or a caveman.
A caveman. Well, even a caveman, the stone thing, then the bronze.
Or obsidian.
And we go, obsidian,
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
This stuff's amazing. So, raw materials, number 1. Number 2, this is the big one that people really don't get. And what I really try to stress to people everywhere I go and speak about is this: the exploitation of raw material is absolutely as important as the choice of that raw material itself. So if I give you a piece of PM grade material, rebar for example, it's about 7 cents a pound if you buy some rebar. Some of the alloys we work with are $211 a pound. I mean, most ferrous metals, an expensive ferrous metal, $32, $34 a pound. That's a really expensive ferrous metal. That's if you're buying it by the ton, by the way.
Okay.
So yeah, okay.
Because it price drops with scale as well.
Of course,
Yeah.
exactly. So you want a little piece of it? Well, it's a lot more. Anyway, so exploitation of that raw material, it doesn't matter how great that raw material is. And the disturbing part is, for example, H2O, it's a wonderful thing. It tastes so good when you're thirsty, but if you freeze it, it's hard to drink, because then it's called ice, but it's still H2O. If you boil it, way worse to drink, because it hurts really bad, and you get to 212 degrees, you got a problem. So that's not fun. But it's still H2O.
And with H2O, once you boil it, and then consume it, it doesn't taste so good.
Right, and you lose some of the materials.
Right.
Right? So with iron, that is a carbon-based iron, now you have steel. So now that steel can equally be thermally transformed, which is a phrase I use a lot, and come out a lot of different ways. Martensite, austenite, pearlite, bainite. It can come out in a lot of different chemical compositions, the structure, the microstructure can be very, very different if you break it open and photomicrograph it and look at it in a really cool high-speed microscope. So, point being, it's not like water because it still looks the same unless you melt it to liquid. It's still, if you've got it in any of those states that I mentioned, it looks the same on the outside. Unless you've got a photomicrograph, you don't know what it is on the inside. So the problem is, if a knife maker just mails it to someone to heat treat, there are some reputable heat treaters, but how do you know? So if he heat treats it himself, how does he know how he's got it? Unless he has the capability of laboratory studies. You either pay for it or you do it yourself. Okay, so that's a big one. Third one, I mentioned there was 3, is trig. That guy Pythagoras, smart guy. There's no M on the end of that word, by the way. So that guy was a smart guy. He told us how to define the triangle, right? Which is edge geometry, right? When you got to make something, let's say you take a splitting maul and you're going to go split your firewood. Would you shave your face for that? Probably not. The splitting maul might be as much as 40 degrees, maybe even more. The razor blade might be as low as 4 degrees, okay? That's an exponential margin. So that geometry variation is to be determined by the maker, and it should be determined by the application of the tool. That the cutting tool is a problem-solving tool. A hammer is a problem-solving tool. The problem is to be defined. The cutting tool, define the problem, develop the tool. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. So my thing is, find the right material, know how to exploit that raw material with your thermal treatment, and finally, apply the correct trigonometry. If you do those things, I don't care if you wrap it with duct tape. The tool is as good scientifically as it can be. The handle, how it looks, that's all a bunch of trash. Who cares? Now, if I'm buying it, yeah, I care. I want it to be pretty, right? So, it's important, but it's not science. So, in my opinion, I believe those are the 3 things that we really define and try to help young knife makers understand that they should learn.
No, cut it. Cut it?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay. After our little breach of passing through,
Fucking Bruce.
bastard.
Darn Bruce.
Darn Bruce, silly man. He's not welcome in my home anymore. So let's pick up with that, but also I want to kind of dovetail back to the 90s. When was it? What year do you estimate was when you weren't out chasing that bear? The bear was actually kind of coming in.
I'm glad that you came back to that because I was going to forget that and move on to another thing. And I think that one of the things that is really a moment of pride for me, being a Marine, was Colonel Bob Coates and MARSOC, Det 1. We had the luxury of making edged tools for some of the greatest, some of the finest men in the world.
Yeah.
And
So
that moment right there, in my opinion, thank you, that toast is my pleasure. That moment, I think pretty much from that day on.
Okay, and that was my bad.
That's funny.
But
Good.
hey, at least it didn't hit the deck, right?
Thank God that girl that came up and took her shirt off. I mean, geez, I'm glad you didn't shut the whole thing off.
Well, there you go.
So anyway, that's a joke. So, the deal we did with Det 1, it was hugely flattering to us as a company to not only get to increase the margin of success of a guy, but some of the finest fighting men in the planet.
And when did that happen?
2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that typical struggle of any business. You're chasing after it. You're hustling, hustling. Profit margins or whatever, they're happening. Maybe they're in a tank. But 2004 was a christening moment for SKI.
I think that we were probably paying our bills a little bit before then, but from that day forward,
that's why I suck Bella.
shit got real.
You guys were able to pay yourselves.
Yeah, we did okay.
Okay, good. So 2004, and there's been a variety. Every business and especially partnership has its modifications, has its
Absolutely.
switchbacks and what have you. So 2004 to there was not a division, but there was a separation of partnership, if you will.
Yeah.
Am I using the right term?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so we have a separation of partnership. What was that, last year?
February of 17.
Of 17. Okay, so SKI, if I'm not mistaken, I think it still exists, or maybe it doesn't.
SKI does not exist.
Okay.
So what happened, the interesting thing is 25 years or 26, depending on how you really want to count the days. What we did, we enjoyed trying to be managers, employers, and wear a lot of hats instead of just being knife makers. Instead of just entertaining, small number. I don't ever use the word boutique because I think it's gay, but I think that using the word precise, because if you define what it is that the tool's going to be used for, and you really tune in what it is that you manufacture, the tool's going to work better than it is if it's some kind of overall tool. So 2017, February, we decided we're shutting the corporate doors.
Yeah.
So that took place. It was no MIG or no DW. It was a mutual decision, as far as I know, to go ahead and take what we had been doing. California made things a lot difficult for us.
Well, California business is very complicated. I've heard.
Tough.
Yeah.
But I don't want to move. I won't lie. Well, let's leave personal issues out. But point being.
Well, but let's get back to so 2017.
Yeah.
We've got was the introduction of I'm not sure, Mixed Rider Custom or something similar.
Mixed Rider Customs is one company.
Right.
Dwyer Custom Goods is the second.
Is your company.
Correct.
And is there a middle ground of that, or is there any is there a Strider knives?
At this time, no.
Okay.
If there becomes a need for a large corporate entity
or a large production scale, then it will. But at this time, there is no production level for either yourself or, and I won't have you talk on behalf of Mick, but in other words, there is no production level or scale existing at this time.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. So now you begin your custom knife business. Let's talk about that.
That's been probably the funnest thing in the world. I have the luxury of having the greatest wife in the world. She's my teammate and my best friend. So she's by my side. She works in my shop. She's smoking hot. And she comes in, suits up, and gets dirty and does her work. It's a good thing. My driving forces, there's a bunch of things that make me want to come to work. I'm a material guy. We've discussed that.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost for me. Step number one, raw materials. Exploitation. I am a heat treat freak. I literally love the entire study of thermal treatment.
Now, do you do your own heat treat?
All of it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm working with the greatest heat treat company in the world, Ipsen, and some subject matter experts at the highest level of education, that I would like to become a West Coast facilitator to other knife makers. I would love to be able to tell guys, look, let me help you learn this trade, or let me just heat treat your stuff.
Right. And let me clarify. I asked you if you do your own heat treat, and you said yes.
I do.
But
In-house.
is that in-house? Okay.
100%.
Because then you mentioned another organization, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to make sure that I got that right.
It's not another organization. It's the company that makes the greatest vacuum furnace made on earth.
Okay, so that's the furnace you use in-house.
I don't have that furnace yet because it's $1.1 million. The one I want, but I have two other furnaces.
Okay.
And they are.
The bottom line is you're not sending out your blades for heat treat.
all
You're doing
in-house.
it all in-house.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're not, obviously you source your own material. We looked at some, there's a meteorite over there that is just phenomenal. And of course, And as we talked about the last time that you and I had a face-to-face, there was a gentleman that is involved with a company that distributes metals. So
Yeah.
you've got your own sourcing for materials. You're treating your own material. Go ahead.
That's all correct. Way back in the day, the Dream Team was a company called Crucible. They were a 160-year-old company out of Syracuse, New York. Amazing guys. Carpenter, right now. Phenomenal guys. Niagara, phenomenal guys. These companies, these are huge assets. These are the B word, billion dollar assets. So that's who I've got in my pocket, in my team. And I'm teammates with those type of people. Now, what I want to say though, that's kind of cool. Since I'm a custom knife maker now, I don't just have to go that route. I found this other passion. I really like reclaiming. So
Yeah. I dig it, man. I dig it. I love it.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
It's kind of been my thing. And so the periodic table is super fun. So I can go to Philadelphia Naval Shipyard and I can buy big sheets of naval bronze that are scrap that were used in the shipyard business. I can buy pure copper that had other industrial purposes. My new thing, rotorcraft with TM the word. I literally chop brake rotors up, because what's cooler than a brake rotor of a race car, a motorcycle, muscle car, big giant diesel ass truck? What's cooler than that? You make that the presentation, the body side of your stuff, that's sexy. You can still see the rotor wear, sexy, beautiful. So I like that.
That's very cool. I love that sourcing of secondary materials, or as you mentioned, reclaiming. I appreciate that. Not just from the cool factor of where it originated from, then also there's a certain good karma aspect of it that it's not going into a landfill somewhere.
Right.
So what are you doing? Let's kind of wrap this up a little bit real quickly. Not real quickly, but let's wrap it up with what type of machinery are you using in the shop at this time?
There's a piece of material, there's a ferrous metal that I believe has the capabilities to do things in the knife making industry that are unsurpassed. There's a material called alloy CD, Charlie Delta, #1. This material is epic. There was a fellow named DeCorso and then a fellow named Jim Martin. Both these guys are PhDs. Thank you to both of them. They're both from Carpenter. I've been lucky enough to bring that material into the actual production knife making world. And right now, on the toughness scale for hard use knives, this material is without comparison. It's a phenomenal material.
So now, when do you expect to be able to work with that?
We are, yeah.
Right now.
I
as you
have
said.
been, yeah.
Beautiful.
Completely.
So, what do you anticipate for the immediate future of Dwayne Dwyer Custom Knives?
Great question. What I really want more than anything is to continue increasing the margin of success of the warfighter. But I can't supply the United States Army. So now I work with smaller groups. I think everybody's going to understand that. They are the tip of the spear. I think everybody's going to understand that. I have the luxury of getting to work with those guys. And then in hopes that one of the bigger organizations will see that, maybe they'll take it up from there.
Yeah. Very good. Are you in the shop now? Do you have if I remember correctly from talking to Josh and bumping into you guys from time to time, at various times there's been a number of staff members back in the Strider Knives Incorporated time. Do you have a staff now? Do you have assistants? You mentioned your wife, your lovely wife helping you. Your children probably help you as well. Do you have anybody else that's helping you in the shop?
18 people at SKI was great. And it was a handful. And there's benefits and there's a lot of stuff. Right now, my shop, it's awesome. I have a fire extinguisher, 2 Belgian Malinois, a 13-year-old boy who's epic.